Hello students, this is a class for BA Part First English Literature students, and we will be talking about an essay written by Charles Lamb. The title of the essay is Dream Children. Uh, Charles Lamb is one of the greatest essayists of 19th century. He is generally called the Prince of English Essays. He was born in 1775 in London and studied in Christ Hospital School, but he could not complete his education because he came from a very poor family. Later on, he became a clerk in Southsea House, and then he served East India Company also. He started his literary career first of all as a poet, but then he became an essayist. He has written novels also. He wrote a novel, Rosamund Grey, and his more famous works are Tales from Shakespeare. Actually, he has written the dramas of Shakespeare in prose, and this is very popular among young students. He has written The Adventures of Ulysses, Specimens of English Dramatic Poets Contemporary with Shakespeare, an essay on the tragedies of Shakespeare, and finally, he is known for his collection of essays, Essays of Elia. Elia was actually his pen name, and actually he was a colleague in East India Company. Uh, he borrowed this name from him. Charles Lamb's personal life was not happy. He did not marry whole of his life because he devoted his life to serve his sister who was mentally retarded, and he did not want that his sister should be sent to an asylum, mental hospital. Uh, his essays of Elia are largely autobiographical, and they record his own personal experiences and impressions of the people he knew. He writes with exquisite humor and pathos, and in a brilliant and inimitable style. Characters that he has known, he writes about the people whom he recollected from his childhood or his later life, and he makes general comments and criticism which are very interesting for the readers. The present essay, Dream Children, is thoroughly personal. It is about Charles Lamb's fantasy of having two children, Alice and Joan. Actually, the narrator in the essay poses to tell these imaginary children a story about their maternal grandmother, Mrs. Fields. Actually, Mrs. Field was a housekeeper at Blakesware in Hertfordshire, England. And Charles Lamb used to visit this place in his holidays when he was young. These two dream children, Alice and Joan, are presented as make believe. That is to say, you all know, Coleridge has coined a word, uh, willing suspension of disbelief. So, on this principle, he has taken these two characters of his imagination, and it is only in the concluding part of the essay that we come to know that these two are imaginary children. This essay deals specially with Mrs. Uh, Fields, who lived in Norfolk, to take care of a house in Blacksware, and the two dream children, Alice and John. It is written in a nostalgic mood. Nostalgic means when you remember your past in a very fond manner, it is called nostalgic. So it is written in a nostalgic mood. Uh, it begins with a general remark about the interest of children in stories about their elders. We all are interested in knowing about our ancestors. So, such interest is considered as a medium of widening the imagination and concepts of thoughts of children about their family history. The same notion compels him to write when the two dream children approached there. He starts telling them about his maternal grandmother, Field, whom he addressed as his dream children's great grandmother. She lived in a vast house. These two children were very familiar with the tragic incidents of the ballad, The Children in the Wood. Actually, he talks about a ballad which he knew in his childhood. The ballad was actually a tragic tale about two little orphans. Their own uncle brought them to a sad end, he killed them. The orphans wandered in grief, and relief came to them only when they were put to death. They received no burial, but the birds covered their dead bodies with leaves. And all this story is written in a very pathetic manner, narrated by the narrator. The same story was carved out on the wooden chimney piece of their great grandmother. Later, the foolish owner of this house, which Mrs. Field used to take care of, this new owner demolished it and erected a new modern house somewhere there. Some decorations from the old house were shifted to the new house, which, according to the poet, seemed foolish. Charles Lamb tells his children that Mrs. Field was a very good and religious lady who was loved and respected by everyone because she knew Jaltry and Testament by heart. She was religious, very good, tall, upright, and very graceful. She was considered the best dancer also in her young days. Later, she succumbed to cancer. She used to sleep alone in the large house, in which it is generally believed that the two apparitions of the children in wood came, and about whom we have just now discussed. Uh, when Charles Lamb was young and when he lived there, he was frightened of these two children. But Mrs. Field, his grandmother, would tell them that these are very harmless and innocent creatures, they will never harm him. And he also remembers the time when he moved about the house and he strolled in the gardens alone and enjoyed doing so. Instead of flowers and fruits, he liked divergence more. Although he would lie there for hours and hours, he would eat the fruits that were grown there, and then he tells about a cousin. The old lady loved Charles Lamb's brother, elder brother, John. He was a fine horse rider, Charles Lamb tells us. He was a very handsome and zealous young man who was very considerate to the poet, the writer, Charles Lamb. When Lamb suffered from some foot trouble, it was John who would take pains and carry him, and he would not mind it. But when John died, initially Charles Lamb was not much shocked, but as time passed on and on, his death haunted him, and he remembered him very much. He missed him very much. He missed the kindness and the the fights that he did with him, and he wished that he would be alive once again. When Lamb told the dream children about his brother's takeoff of the limb, he requested him to talk about their dead mother. The children could not hear the tragic story of their uncle. So, when the children requested to tell them about their mother, uh, the narrator starts talking about his beloved Alice W. N. Actually, the writer does not want that he should disclose the name of his beloved. Actually, this is autobiographical, and therefore, then the dream child Alice looked exactly like Alice. He gazed at the two, but they grew fainter and continued moving back and back. At last, they moved so distant that they appeared as two unidentifiable figures. They proved not real, living children, but dreams only. And Charles Lamb awoke from his sleep. The dream was over. He expressed, I found myself quietly seated in my bachelor armchair. And this word bachelor tells us that he actually had no children, they were only imaginary. And he says, I found myself quietly seated in my bachelor armchair where I had fallen asleep. And in this manner, we see there are a lot of touches of humor as well as pathos in this essay. There exist elusive features. Some very important qualities of Charles Lamb's prose style are reflected through this essay. His mastery of long and complex sentences and also short and aphoristic sentences are very beautifully blended in this essay. The personal element makes the essay very interesting to read. Thus, we can conclude that it is a very moving essay which is based on the essayist's first hand experience mingled with imagination, humor, and pathos. Thank you very much. That's all for today. Uh, and now we have completed our course. This was the last essay in your course. Thank you very much. If you have any queries about anything in your course, you can call me, you can WhatsApp me. Thank you very much.